I hope your day is going amazing. I heard that you had finals. I hope you did so good. And I totally understand that you were under the impression that the semester was done. So no harm, no foul. I'm making this YouTube lesson. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, so I have some news for you. I'm not going to be here for 3 Thursdays. I am going home for Christmas break for 2 weeks. And I am going on a trip for the 3rd week. And yeah, but I'll be back. I'm literally driving home that Thursday from the trip. So unfortunate timing, but I will be back the next Thursday. And so I want to use this time. I don't want to stress you out with a bunch of playing. And so I want to use this time to catch you up to Lauren, because I do have you guys both on the same track. And I've given the substitute lesson plans on Teacher Zone through your homework. So they can look at your previously assigned homework and your lesson plans. I assigned it. It says I assigned it today. So previously assigned, and then I wrote that it was due the next Thursday on the 22nd. So just tell them, look at what was due on the 22nd, and it has all 3 weeks on one homework assignment, if that makes sense. But I'm going to tell you, and I want you to have your book out. So if you don't have your book, go get your book, because we're going to go through your homework and we're going to go through all the theory things that you need to know to get through the next 3 weeks. That's what I want to use this lesson time for, because right now you and Lauren are kind of doing the, I say, quote unquote, boring part of music, where it's like learning the theory before you get to play. And then this book includes some pieces incorporated through the theory that kind of show what you're learning in the piece. So like if you're talking about 4/4 time, then you're going to play things in 4/4 so that you understand what 4/4 means and how to incorporate it into your playing. So you've got a lot of simple pieces. It's not going to be too tough. What I need you to get in the next 3 weeks is the theory and how to apply it to your playing. Sounds like a lot, but it's not. And we're going to go over it, and it's going to be great. And so I want you to have your book out, and I would love for you to take notes for your sub to have as well, just in case that they can't access Teacher Zone or something's wrong with that. Marking what pages you're supposed to be working on and what homework you're supposed to be working on each week. The homework is super simple. It's going to look like a lot, but when you get it, and I told Lauren this, like, you're going to fly through it, and you both are so smart, and so I know that you're going to get it. And get done what you can get done. Get as far as you can get. I've brought it all the way up to page 42, so I've given about 20 pages of work to do in the 3 weeks. And so get as far as you get. If you get only 10 pages done, I'm not going to go crazy, because you're paying for these lessons, and I'm going at your pace. It's hard to navigate with a sub, because it's like, how far are you going to get every week and things like that. So go farther than 20 pages, stay less than 20 pages, do the 20 pages. All you. I know this is a lot of talking, so let's talk about theory. So I've got you started on page 22 because I think the first 21 pages is kind of review. We've kind of already talked about that stuff, and I think this is a good place for both of y'all to start. So we are going to talk about 4/4 first, and I don't remember what you already know specifically. I think we're good on 4/4, but we're going to talk about it super quickly. 4/4 is a time signature. It's going to be at the beginning of every piece. Every piece is going to have a time signature at the beginning, like right there. And sorry if you can hear some singing in the background of this video. I am currently at Spicer's, next door to a voice lesson. Can you see that? 4/4. And the top number tells you how many beats are in a measure. So if the top number is 4, then that means there's 4 beats in a measure. If the top number is 6, that means there's 6 beats in the measure. And you know, measure is marked by a bar line. I'm pretty sure you know this already, but just in case, I don't want you to be lost. This is a measure. It's marked by a bar line. Measure, bar line, measure, bar line. So something is in 4/4. It's going to have 4 beats per measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and then you're supposed to put the bar lines on this homework. But we'll go over that. Do you love that song? Okay. Wow, this is crazy. How many beats per measure? The bottom number tells you what note gets the beat. So if the bottom number is a 4, that means the quarter note gets the beat, because a quarter is a fourth of a whole note. It's kind of based off of a whole note. So a quarter note is a fourth of a whole note, which means a quarter note gets the beat. So if the bottom number was 2, then a half note would get the beat, because a half note is half of a whole note, and the bottom number is 2. Most common time signatures, and I'm just going to briefly touch on this, or had the bottom number is a 4 or an 8. An 8 means an eighth note, 1/8 note of a, eighth note, oh my gosh, what am I saying? Eighth note gets the beat. So, yeah, but right now, all you need to know, luckily, is 4/4. And 3/4, coming up. It's actually coming up later, but let's talk about it now while we're on it, and then we can skip it when we get to it. 3/4. How many beats in a measure? You say 3. What note gets the beat? You say quarter note. If you said those things, you're correct. So, pretty simple stuff. Homework. This is what I want you to do. I'm going to cut some of it. This is what I want you to do. We're looking at page 22. And so write this down. You ready? Okay. Number 1, I want you to do all of these. And your sub is supposed to check this. And I told them. But remind them, just in case. I want you to do all of number 1. Just review. And you've got a cheat sheet up here. If you need it, try not to use it. Number 2, do all of number 2. Do all of number 3. Okay. Number 2 and number 3. And yeah, just do number 2 and number 3. What you're doing on number 1 is you're writing how many beats per note. So the first one is a half note. Half note gets 2 beats. 2. Go around, do that. And then you're going to add, and you might have already done this, but if not, that is okay. If yes, then we're good. I want you to add the beat that's going to complete the value of the measure. So this first measure only has 3 beats in it, so you need to add a quarter note to make it a full measure. 4 beats. Does that make sense? I'll tell you the second one too. And I want you to just do 3 and 4. You don't have to do the third one because it gets repetitive. If you can do these 2, then you're good on that one. I don't want to assign you too much. So this has 2 quarter notes, so it's missing 2 beats. And I'm looking at the second measure. I'm not sure if it's backwards or if it's going to be flipped around. But 2 quarter notes, which means it's missing 2 beats. So you could do 2 more quarter notes, or you could do a half note. I think that makes sense. If not, you can ask your sub any questions you have. Lightly row, I want you to put the bar lines. And then you're supposed to write the name of each note in the box. So I want you to go ahead and do all of lightly row. Add the bar lines. The bar lines go on the treble and the bass clef as drawn here. And so every 4 beats, you're going to do a bar line. So do that for both pieces. Okay. Through 27. Okay. Oh yeah, for the first week, you are going to go over 22 through 27 for homework. So you should already have this completed by the time you get to your lesson on Thursday. Okay, we're going to talk about intervals because you need to know intervals. I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay, hopefully this green marker works because I'm not loving the brown. So we have a melodic interval and a harmonic interval. They are what they sound like. A melodic interval is an interval within the melody. And you can read the book. The book will tell you as well. So if you're confused about anything, the book has all the information you need. A melodic interval is an interval within the melody, which means one note to the next note. So if I'm just going to write this like half of a staff. If I have this note to this note, so I have this on the space below the line and this one on the line, I'm going to count the spaces and lines in between each note to find the interval. So the interval is the space between a note and another note. So it's on one space and one line. So 1, 2, the interval is a second. Does that make sense? And the book also says, and it gives you examples. 1, 2 is a second. 1, 2, 3. And I'll show you a third. So right now I need you to know seconds and thirds coming into your lesson next week. So let's do a third. So to write a third, I'm going to put a note on the space below the line again, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. So 1 space, 1 line, 1 space. That makes it a third. 1, 2, 3. And so you need to know this because when you're playing music, you're going to want to be able to look at intervals and immediately know how to play them, and that'll help you play the piano without being like, okay, this note's a D, okay, the next note's a G, so D, G, and then instead of that, if you know that one note is a D and it's an interval of a 3, you just count on the piano, which I'll show you here. D, and I know if I look at the page and I say, oh, the next interval is a 3. 1, 2, 3. So I know 1, 3, right? Or if I know the first note's a C and the interval is a second, I just count 1, 2. And I don't have to go, oh, that's a C and then it's a D. Oh, actually, I just know that's a second, so all I know is I move up a second. Does that make sense? So I want you to play, look at, I don't know how to say, Au clair de la lune. That's my best guess. This is on page 24. Play both the pieces. Tisket, tasket. Go through. It'll be super easy. When you're playing them, just think about the melodic intervals in between each note. Okay. Then on page 25, your homework is to go and just do the first 2 lines. First 2 lines of the homework. So there's 4 lines. Just do the first 2. First 2. 1, 2 lines. Because I don't want to give you too much. So this does the first 2 for you. So you see this one goes up a second, 1, 2. So you write up a second. This one goes down a third, 1 line, 1 space, 1 line, 1, 2, 3, down a third. Let's do the next one together. So I see that this one moves up. So I'm going to write up. And then I see that it goes up a second, 1, 2. So I'm going to write a second. Hopefully that makes sense. Lastly, to finish catching you up for next week, we're going to talk about harmonic seconds and thirds. So melodic is when within the melody, it makes a melody, one note to the next note. Harmonic is when they're played at the same time, kind of like a chord. So a harmonic interval of a second would look like this. And I'm going to do a second and a third on the same thing to make this a little quicker. So a second. Oh, wait. I have to look at how they do it. A second is kind of written differently because they're so close to each other that, like, it has to be legible. So, okay, they do this. It's kind of weird how they do it. Like that. Because the notes are right next to each other. And that's a second. 1, 2. Now let's do a third. Going to be a lot easier to read. That's a third. Because there's 3 lines and spaces. 1, 2, 3. And that would sound like, so that's E and G. So that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Make sense? And a second would sound like that. This is E, F. So E, F. 1, 2. Make sense? The book uses C and D. 1, 2. So play rocking intervals. And this is gonna, these pieces are really simple and short. Play rocking intervals and think about the intervals that you were playing in the left hand. So I'm looking at measure 3 and it looks like you're playing seconds and thirds the whole time, which is what you're learning about. That's why I like this book, because it gives you pieces that correlate with the theory that you're learning. So, lastly, to catch you up for the next lesson, and then I'm going to give you what to write down for your sub, how I have it planned out, if this makes sense. So, okay, let's just talk about this. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Page 27 is the last page I need you to have ready for next week. I know this is a lot, but it should not take you long. I imagine this is about 30 minutes to an hour of work. But luckily, it sounds like you're going to be done with school, and so then you'll have a lot more time to practice. And once we get you caught up on theory, next year, we're going to start working on your piece. I want to find you a better arrangement of it. We're going to see what I can find, but we're going to start working on that. I want you to get caught up on some of this theory, and I don't want your sub to start working on that with you. So we're going to do that together. Starting in January, I know you've had to wait so long, but only wait a little bit longer, and then we're going to do it. And once you get caught up on this theory, playing that piece is going to be a lot easier than it would normally be. So, you don't have to do number 1. Don't do that. You're fine, because you're gonna do that in the last piece, rock and intervals. Number 2, I want you to do all of number 2, all of number 3 and 4. So don't do number 1, do 2, 3, and 4. And that's it. Then you're caught up for your very first lesson with the sub. Now, I'm just going to go through everything and talk about it super simply. Your sub should, in depth, explain all of the theory and all of the pieces you're playing. So we're just going to talk about just a little bit so I can make sure we're on the same page when I come back. So write this down. Your sub should work with you on 12/22, on the 22nd, on 28 through 33. 28 through 33. That's melodic fourths and fifths, and you're going to do the pieces, and then I want you to do all the homework in harmonic fourths and fifths. So just what we talked about, melodic seconds and thirds, harmonic seconds and thirds. Now you're doing melodic fourths and fifths, harmonic fourths and fifths. So once you understand one, you understand the other one. So do all the homework. It should be less, since that you're going to be like kind of doing some of it in your lesson, and yeah, because this is like your YouTube lesson, so you kind of have to get caught up on what you are doing this week. Your regular lessons should be less workload and a little easier. Don't stress yourself out over Christmas. Do what you can do. And I said through 32. Let me double check what I said. Through 33. That makes more sense. The C chord, C, E, G. Your sub should be able to explain that. I want you to go over that. And then you've got pieces that utilize a C chord, and then I'm going to make sure before I tell you that's what that's doing. Okay, yeah, C chord in the left hand and then in the right hand. Easy pieces. Practice these, get them down. Your sub should help you not to be too stressed. And then practice page 33. Have that down and review it possibly at your next lesson, depending on how far you get. The next lesson should be 34 through 37. And like I said, it's okay to get ahead or behind this regimen. This is just my estimate. So 34, introducing B for the left hand. So make sure you understand that where B is on the piano, and that B is in the same place every time on the piano. Just like C is in the same place. Does that make sense? Like high C, low C, all of those are going to be before the set of 2 black keys. Hopefully that makes sense. It's okay, your sub should. I keep saying that. Moving on. Merrily we roll along. Still utilizing that C chord and C and C. I don't know how to say it. It's using the C chord and the G7 chord. And then introducing B for the right hand should be very similar to the left hand. And then play Mary Ann. So you've got some repertoire to work on. So have that ready for your next lesson with the sub, which should be 38. Wait. Then your last lesson with the sub, 38 through 42. G7 chord for left hand. So hopefully he talks about inversions and how to invert the G chord. If not, we'll go over that. Basically playing this. Being able to play the 1, so that's C, E, G, and then the G7 without picking up your hand, which is B, F, G, and then back to 1. If not, we will go over that, girl. I'm not going to stress you. G7 chord for right hand. Learning a dotted half note 3/4 time. Should be easy. Should be a little bit of review. Do the homework for 3/4 time. And I'll check everything when I come back. Make sure everything looks good. And then you're going to talk about slurs and legato playing. And the piece I want you to have ready for me when I come back in January is page 42, What Can I Share? Should be pretty easy. I think you've got it. You are very smart. You are going to be amazing and do amazing. And I am so happy I am your teacher. Love you bunches. I'm going to miss you. Can't wait to see you again. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.